Hey guys, how's it going? Today let's do an unboxing and overview of the Planet Computers Cosmo Communicator. This is the successor to their previous device, the Gemini PDA, which I did a video on a few years back. And what I liked about that device was that the QWERTY keyboard was very roomy and it was very tactile feeling. It was very reminiscent of the old Scion keyboards back in the 90s, and I believe it's made by the same designer as well. And what I also liked about it was it can boot into multiple operating systems. Like you can boot into Android, obviously, but also Debian Linux and Sailfish OS as well. So I'm guessing that the successor, the Cosmo Communicator, can do that as well, but we'll have to take a look. And this one I actually backed in December 2019 last year, but didn't actually start shipping until recently because of the coronavirus pandemic, other delays that's been going on. But finally, I got it 6 months later. Also, I want to let you know that there are other physical keyboard smartphones out there, and I also backed some other ones. Like there's the FX Tech Pro 1. Some of you may have heard of that device. That one I also backed around the same time as this device back in December of last year, but that one hasn't shipped yet. When that one arrives, I'll let you guys know. I'll post a video of it, and I'll probably do a comparison between the FX Tech Pro 1 and the Cosmo Communicator. But for today, we're going to look at this one because this one arrived first. I'm just going to do a rundown of the specs. So it has a 6-inch display, 2160 by 1080 resolution. Of course, it's AMOLED display, and has an external display as well, which the Gemini PDA didn't have anything on the external cover. This one has a 2-inch external display. The keyboard's actually backlit, which is one of the things that many people were complaining about on the Gemini PDA, which I think is a pretty basic feature, right? So I'm glad that you finally put in a backlit keyboard. Runs Android 9. We'll have to take a look to see if it's actually upgradable to Android 10 though, because Android 9 isn't the latest Android, obviously. Actually, Android 11 is now coming out, I believe. And then it runs a MediaTek P70 processor. MediaTek's a Taiwanese company. So I would have preferred if it was a Qualcomm, but you know, a lot of the smaller startup companies like Planet Computers are using the MediaTek and other cheaper CPUs, I'm guessing. 6 gigs of RAM, a micro SD card slot, 128 gigs of storage, and it has a 24 megapixel camera, although I don't think that many people will actually use this as their main camera phone. Just the design of this device, you can tell that's mostly meant to be used as a like the old palm top devices, right? Or handheld computers, UMPCs, netbooks, that type of device, right? Just you can tell from the layout. It's not a typical smartphone. So I guess some people might take pictures with it, but I don't think that's the main attraction of this device. Stereo speakers and headphone jack, which is nice because we don't see that on many phones anymore. All right, let's take a look at this device. This box here, I believe, is very similar to the one that we got for the Gemini PDA, if I remember correctly. And so is this interface here. This was a similar interface to what I've seen on the Gemini PDA. Actually, let's take a look at the back first. It says powerful, portable, private, productive. Cosmo by Planet. So Planet Computers is a UK-based company, I believe. They're a small startup. And actually, FX Tech Pro, that other phone I talked about, is also made by a small UK startup. And it also has very similar specs. And it's also a physical keyboard phone. So it will be interesting whenever I get that one to do a comparison between the two. So I'll probably make a video whenever I get that one. But yeah, Planet Computers, again, small UK startup, and backed it 6 months ago, finally got it. So it comes with a phone, of course. It comes with a SIM card removal tool. And I'm guessing this is the manual inside here. There we go. Cosmo Communicator. Quick start guide. Yep, cool. Yep, it tells you the specs that I just listed, right, in different languages. And we got a cleaning cloth right here and some stickers for those of you who like stickers. All right, and then we get a charger, right? I think it's just a typical, yep, it's a typical wall wart right there. Nothing to see there, and USB-C cable, because of course has USB-C, as all modern phones should have. Yep, so there's just a USB-C cable right here. Nothing special there. That's all that's in the box. Alright, so that's the unboxing. Let's take a look at the phone itself. Pretty hefty phone, by the way. Definitely, it's a bulky one. Not your, not the same size as an iPhone or a Galaxy or any of the popular phones on the market. It's definitely a bulky device, and so yeah, just the form factor of this device, you can tell it's not meant to be used as a typical phone. It's more like a like a PDA or a palm top, like those old Scions were, or like a handheld PC, if you guys remember those, like a pseudo netbook UMPC type of device. So yeah, this is the 2-inch external display. You can see here with is that the 24 megapixel camera right there. I'm guessing this is also for notifications and stuff. And then you can see Cosmo by Planet right there, and Planet logo there. 128 gigs, pretty sizable amount, yeah, actually, for a device. This is pretty expensive. This is like, I backed this for $750, so for that price, yeah, I think I better be getting 128 gigs. USB-C charging, this is the power button, I believe, and we have another USB-C port here for connecting other devices. I think either of them can be used for charging, and a headphone jack, which is always appreciated. And here's your SIM card tray right there, which I'm guessing also holds the micro SD as well. So it's 120 gigs plus the micro SD expansion, which is nice. So yeah, let's open it up, and of course this keyboard, pretty much the same as the one on the Gemini, except it's backlit, I believe. So not too different here. Very tactile. Of course, I like the Gemini PDA keyboard. There was, besides the backlit thing, there wasn't many other complaints I had about it, but it looks like this one's more, I feel like it's very thumb typeable. I don't have the Gemini PDA anymore for a direct size to size comparison, but it looks to be around the same size. It doesn't look to be all that different. Alright, yeah, anyways, yeah, it's powered on. This was the on button, by the way, the escape key, which also doubles as the off button. So sure, standard, actually 5-row keyboard here. You have some external function. Ooh, look at that, that's backlit. Okay, so here's the backlit keyboard, which is nicely backlit. You don't see many non-chiclet backlit keyboards. Like the only one I can really compare to is the ThinkPad TP25 that I have, which is the 25th anniversary ThinkPad. I haven't seen many keyboards that are non-chiclet and like physical keyboards, right? That's non-chiclet and backlit. This is one of them. You can see here, this is the secondary functions of the keyboard, right? This is a phone call. This inner key, by the way, is a Europe style inner key, which people in the US and Canada might not be used to seeing. We're used to seeing rectangular inner keys, but this is what Europe uses. So it's a hero as well, because it's a European phone, right? Made by a UK company. And this is a secondary option for phone call right here. Settings as a secondary option for delete. Emoji as a secondary option here. Then you have standard inverted T arrow keys right here. This one, what's this secondary thing? Looks like voice memo or something like that. And also hang up. Is this another phone key? This might be hang up or something. This is for pressing this key would likely bring up the menu bar. Yep, which it does. See? Yeah. It brings up the menu bar, which it does even on the screen, this welcome screen here. Tab and caps lock. And this is, I guess, the LED indicator for charging. Again, the on and off, like I said, is also the escape key. So yeah, we're going to go through this and set it up. All right, keyboard, US. Thank you for choosing a Planet device. All right, and here we are. Again, very similar layout and UI is very similar to what we've seen on the Gemini PDA. So for those of you who are familiar with Gemini PDA, it's pretty much the same. And we can bring up the dock right here, just like that, what we had on the Gemini. And this is very Linux-like, right? This dock. So we can choose, you have Chrome, Word, Excel, Skype, Airmail, Agenda, Notes, Letterson, Data, Keyboard, and the time and the date here. This is like a pseudo start menu. Right here, you can go to the website store. Seems pretty responsive, right? And this is running Android 9, I presume. I can launch the settings here, which I can do from the delete. Here we go, Cosmo settings, keyboard backlight. See, actually set the keyboard backlight. So again, like I said before, the keyboard here is not very often that I see a non-chiclet keyboard have a backlight. So I only have one other thing I can compare it to, like I said, which was the ThinkPad TB25, but it looks pretty good here as well. This is at maximum settings. So have it on maximum, and this is what the keyboard backlight looks like. Very beautiful backlight, actually. Aesthetically pleasing backlight. Because like I said, most keyboard backlight comes with a chiclet keyboard. If you're ever using a laptop, right? Like 90% of laptops now have chiclet keyboards. It's not often that you see a non-chiclet keyboard have a backlight. That's why it's kind of unique, actually, but it looks really cool. All right, so that's the backlight. There's also a bunch of other settings you can do here. Move navigation bar left side, hide, show app bar on open. I guess I can also use the, very snappy arrow keys to maneuver here. Use eSIM for SIM source. Ooh, okay. So if you have a eSIM provider, you can use that. You can choose, okay, this is actually not the voice memo, it's a voice assistant, which makes more sense to me, actually. Just the first thing I thought about when I see this was a voice memo, but it's actually the assistant, which makes sense. It's Google Assistant, presumably. All right, so I set up the Wi-Fi and I turn on the shortcut for the assistant. So now if I do FN and this, launches the Google Assistant, right? So, yeah, you guys can see that, and just show you some of the other applications here. So this is Agenda, Gemini Agenda. So this is actually looks like an app actually made by Planet Computers. So that's a proprietary app. It's made by them. Airmail is another app that's made by them for mail, and then Notes seems like it's also made by them as well. So there's a few apps that are very exclusive to Planet Computers, the Gemini PDA, and of course the Cosmo Communicator. So anyways, but they're basic, PIM style apps, right? You have a calendar, mail, and a Notes app. This one is a camera. Again, not many people are probably going to use this camera, but it's a very, very basic one, right? So you got flash, HDR. You can do a selfie, of course. Picture or video, okay. Very, very basic camera, but I don't think anyone's going to use this as a camera phone. But yeah, let's look at that. Okay. Yep, so again, not going to win any awards here for picture quality, but you do have a 24 megapixel camera here. For those of us who, for those of you who want to take pictures, have that. Then let's look at desktop. Most of these are shortcuts, I think. I don't think this comes pre-installed, yeah. You can also bring up the keyboard to adjust that, and data, which is, oh, there's a database app, looks like. That's so cool. So you can definitely do some productivity here because it comes with some productivity related stuff. Lettuce.in. Let's check that out. Oh, okay. White flash, green invader. I'm guessing this is for the LED lights for the system. When you charge it or do something else. Not really sure, actually. Haven't used too much of this app, but it says LED ISIN, so I assume it's something to do with the LEDs here. Let's look at the external display here. So the external display is for at-a-glance notifications and information. So you can see here it's kind of like a smartwatch. So you got the time, the day, the date here, and also notifications as well. And you have the two LED lights down here, and of course there's a notification. It will appear on here as well. All right, and that's the external display on the Cosmo Communicator. Obviously a very cool feature that wasn't on the Gemini PDA. And I don't know how well you guys can see it, but this display is pretty sharp. Like it's in person, it is a very sharp OLED display. So I don't have any issues with that. You can see at a glance, day, the date, the time, and of course notifications. And this thing here, I just initially thought, what are these two LEDs for? Actually, it's for opening up a pseudo menu of sorts. So you can do quick things, again, smartwatch type of things without having to open up the computer. So you have your phone right here. You can check your phone calls, and then this will turn into different LEDs. I'm guessing this is what that LED ISIN is for, app that was in there. Then you press this one on the right side to actually go back. So it's kind of like a pseudo interface right here. It's like a mini interface, and you can actually activate the selfie camera here. Apparently, that's what it is. And this is media, so you can play your music and stuff. And this will be sort of a pseudo media player interface. That's not too different from the one I have on my Moto Razr Fold, to tell you the truth. Right? Remember how I talked about how the Moto Razr Fold has a very nice secondary display on the outside for playing media. This one's just smaller. I guess it's still bigger than the one on the Galaxy Z Flip, actually. So I would actually prefer using this one over the one on the Z Flip. So still decent size, 2 inches, which is actually the size of most media players back in the day, right? Like an iPod Nano or something. Oh, here's a notification from my Gmail that I just got. Yep, so that was my email notification. And let's see, this is for video recording. Yep, so that's for if you want to record a selfie video on the fly, you have access to that. This is for a microphone if you want to record a voice memo, I'm guessing. And here's settings. So here's at a glance what you can do with the settings here. You obviously don't have access to the full settings here, but you can lock Android, brightness, orientation, notification text, or exit. And flashlight. 2, 1. Oh, that's bright. Okay. Anyways, that's a flashlight. And then you can turn it off just from the external display. You don't even have to open it up. So that's pretty convenient, I guess. Just power off the phone, and ooh, there's a little graphic here. And that's it. You don't even have to open up the phone to power it down. So I like that there's a secondary external display, much similar to the one I have on my Moto Razr Fold. Just secondary displays, I think, is becoming a thing. And of course, the Galaxy Fold also has a secondary display, which is much bigger, almost like a main display. But there's a lot of phones now that are coming out with these secondary displays. So it's cool that you now have that on the Cosmo Communicator. And yeah, it really does look like a mini laptop or a netbook, UMPC, a palm top device, just like the old Scions were. Keyboard, again, very easy, very tactile and nice to type on. Actually better for thumb typing, I would say, than doing it like this. Although you would probably make a lot of mistakes though, because the keys are still so small. But I think this is better for thumb typing. Yeah, ideally I think this is how you would use the keyboards for thumb typing here. So there's some shortcut keys here for media playback and volume, airplane mode, contrast, brightness. That's all there. So yeah, that is the Cosmo Communicator. I'm going to actually install Linux on here. I don't think Sailfish OS is available yet, so I can't show you guys Sailfish OS yet. Maybe that'll be in a future video, but I do believe Linux is available, so I'm gonna load Linux onto here, and then we'll go into that. So another thing I want to mention is that this device does come with a fingerprint scanner, which is something that the Gemini PDA didn't come with. So that's a nice extra feature that the Cosmo Communicator has that brings it up to a current date modern device. And that's actually the sensor right here. So this sensor that previously I said would open the menu, it's also a fingerprint scanner. And it's also the volume controls. So it actually does a lot. So this pressing right here would actually up the volume. Pressing left would make the volume go down. And you can see there's a fingerprint icon right here. So I have to actually unlock it before I can use the secondary display right here. There we go. So now I can use the secondary display. Now I can open it up, and I can use my fingerprint scanner right here to unlock it. Right, you just put my finger there. And like I said, you can use the volume controls as well. So you press up to up the volume and down to down the volume. And the up and down would be relative from this position, holding it like this. So I kind of understand why they made these the volume controls, but it's also really annoying because the volume controls are also the fingerprint scanner, which means that if you're in the locked position and you try to up and down the volume too much, you're actually not going to be able to unlock it because it's going to say you tried to unlock the phone too many times and it's going to try to lock you out. So I guess there isn't much room here on the front lid here, which is why they put it in the same spot. But I don't know. I would rather prefer they put the volume controls like on the side or somewhere else. I don't know why they had to put the volume controls on the fingerprint scanner. Like, think about it. You're going to use the volume controls a lot when you're playing music or something like that, right? Like especially for the secondary display. Then I guess you're also going to hit the fingerprint scanner every time, basically. So I don't know. I just found that maybe they could have put it in a better place. Like I like this being a fingerprint scanner. I also like it doing so much stuff, but I don't know if I would, assign it this many functions. I would probably put the volume controls somewhere else, like maybe on the side of the device or something like that. But that's a nitpick. Also, a few more things that I forgot to note that was on the quick start guide actually is you can either choose to put a micro SD or a nano SIM into the tray, or you can put 2 nano SIMs into the tray. So you can actually have the potential to use dual SIMs here, as well as an eSIM, right? Because that's also configurable. And then the left-hand side USB-C port, you can do fast charging, or you can add Ethernet support, or you can even put a USB-C hub there. Or on the right-hand side USB port, they have different features, I guess. Is also regular charging, which is different than the fast charging. So only the left-hand side is fast charging. Right-hand side is regular charging, and you can do HDMI video out. So only, I guess there's specific things that you can do with only the left and right-hand side USB-C port. So that's just an FYI that they do have different functions on the 2 ports. Alright guys, so I finally got Linux installed on this device. It's not that difficult. All I had to do was go on the Planet Computers website, and they have a tutorial on installing different operating systems. They actually give you the image for Debian, actually KDE Plasma, and you just load it onto a micro SD card, and then you go into recovery mode, and then you partition the drives, and then you can install the custom operating system. So how you boot it up is, so this device can triple boot just like the Gemini PDA before it. There's 2 on buttons, right? There's the escape on button, and then there's a side on button right here. So what I had to do here is hold the escape down while pressing in the side on button. So you see the screen come up, and then you just wait until it goes black again. Okay. And then it'll go into this custom boot mode here. So you just select it with the volume buttons here. So right now I have Debian loaded onto the second slot. So just select that here. Again, in the future, it can even boot Sailfish OS. Right now, I don't think they have a distribution ready, but this can probably triple boot in the future. And now you have Gemini booting. So this will boot into KDE Plasma. The default username, there's a default Cosmo user, and the default password is just Cosmo. Right, and then you boot into KDE Plasma. Yep, and yeah, I'm more familiar with this now that I just installed Kubuntu on a device recently. So the thing is, of course, you'll have to connect like a Bluetooth mouse or even a wired mouse, right, to this to really take full advantage of Linux, because otherwise you have to use this really small pointer using your fingers, and that gets difficult. But otherwise you have everything here. I think you have the Wi-Fi doesn't automatically connect for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. I already put it here. Anyways, I'll do that later. Here I have your settings here. You can refresh, show desktop, add widgets, activities, open with Dolphin, configure desktop. And then here, I find like this, there's still some kinks running it on the Cosmo because it's still kind of in beta, I guess. But you press Fn to get the start menu up. All right, that's easier than just trying to touch it. So you have Conqueror. This is the web browser of choice, I guess. All right, so I just connected to my internet. Again, typing on this machine is really awesome because of the keyboard. And definitely a much roomier one than the one on my BlackBerry Q2, which is the only other recent smartphone that I have that has a physical keyboard. And this is my typical website I go to, like Engadget. Oh, here we go. So yeah, this is you can navigate using the arrow keys as well. But this is a Conqueror, which is the KDE browser running on the Cosmo Communicator. So yeah, internet works obviously. Not sure if it's the best experience because the pointer is so small, but I think you would have to connect a mouse to really get the full use out of this operating system, like I said, on this device, because display is so small and the pointer is so small. You have a file manager, right? Dolphin. So yeah, desktop operating system on this smartphone, which is more than what I can say for other devices. Like even the iPad can't really run a desktop operating system, right? But this small little smartphone can do it. Okay, and let's see. Of course, I want to look at the terminal, right? Because I'm in Linux. So here you have the terminal, and I'm just going to do some small commands here. You can see my directories and my processes, and then trivial thing to do here. Hello world. And I'll say hello world. There we go. I can even do a variable here. Oops. Right, and then echo. The top function keys actually have 3 different symbols or characters you can use. So I had to use shift for $sign and function for the euro sign. So I'm going to do that here, and you should say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which it does. Okay. So anyways, standard Linux terminal stuff. So for Linux geeks, want to carry around a small portable Linux machine, this is probably the smartphone to do it. I actually don't know many other smartphones that can run Linux. There are like smartphones that run operating systems that are Linux based, like Ubuntu Touch, right? Sailfish OS, I guess, is kind of a variant. Of course, Android itself is also kind of a fork, but this is full-blown Linux. This is a full-blown Linux operating system, right? Desktop operating system here. So I don't know many other smartphones that can do a full-blown desktop Linux experience like the Gemini PDA and now the Cosmo Communicator can do. But yeah, you have that here. So you can install any of your Linux apps on here as well. It's all up to you. Right now, I think there's still a little bit buggy, a few buggy things about Linux. I've had this, some Windows freeze on me a few times here, but I think it's still in beta, that's why. And I'm sure that Planet Computers will update this. Yeah, you can see here, Debian, Linux 10, Buster, and it comes with Cosmo admin by default. So you can change that later, but it comes with that, and the password is Cosmo by default. So that's just an FYI when you decide to install Linux on this machine using Planet Computers' little package that they prepare for you. But that's it. That's it, guys. That's the Cosmo Communicator. I will update you guys in the future when I get Sailfish OS working on this device. When there's a distribution available, I can put it on this device and I can triple boot it into Android, Debian, and then Sailfish, just like I did on the Gemini. Then I'll make another video about that. Then I'll wait for the FX Tech Pro 1 to actually come. I think that one I'm still waiting for. I don't know when they're going to ship it. Hopefully sometime soon. Because just like Planet Computers, they're a small UK company, a small startup making smartphones with a physical keyboard. Of course, their physical keyboard is very different from this physical keyboard. If you want to do kind of a comparison, I would say that if you were to compare this to an old phone, right, from the 2000s, you can think of this one as more of a Nokia E90 communicator style smartphone, where there's a display on the outside and then one on the inside. And oh, look at this. Okay, yeah, so there's definitely scaling issues to be done here, as you can see. So like I said, there's still some kinks to be worked out with the Linux distribution here. It's still in beta, so just keep that in mind if you do run Linux on this device like I am right now. I think, yeah, there's still some issues. As you can see, like just opening and closing the device leads to some funkiness on the display here. So I'm not really sure how to get out So normally, if you're in the regular Linux screen, you would actually need to press FN escape to shut down or sleep or reboot, but it looks like that's not working here either. So I guess I will have to hard power down here. Yeah, so I had to hard reboot it to actually get it back here. So just remember, it's a beta distribution right now. So if you are running Linux on the Cosmo Communicator, just be sure not to close the lid. Otherwise, you're going to have issues once you open it back up. But yeah, normally you would exit out of Linux by function escape, and then you'll get these options here, and that's when you can properly shut down. So yeah, as I was saying, the Cosmo Communicator, think of this as like a Nokia communicator type of smartphone. So you open it up, there's a secondary display with a QWERTY keyboard. And the FX Tech Pro one is more like a Nokia E7, right? It has a keyboard that kind of tilts up like that. And the keys are very different. So I will have to test that one out to see if they're actually more or less comfortable than these ones, right? And these ones seem pretty comfortable to me. They're very snappy and tactile. They are not chiclet style. This might be better for people who prefer the old school type of keyboard, right? I think the FX Tech Pro one does have a newer chiclet style keyboard, and it's different. The use case is different, right? This one has an external display. It's a very small 2-incher, but you do have an external display here that'll give you kind of smartwatch notifications at a glance. The FX Tech Pro one just has a full display, right? You just use it normally as you would any other Android phone, but then if you want the keyboard, it's there when you need it. So I haven't got the FX Tech Pro one yet. In the future, when I do, I'll do a more direct comparison in another video. But for now, I think that the Cosmo Communicator, in my opinion, is the phone that you would want to use if you don't really want to use this as a phone. So I know it's having the external display and everything, it's more like a phone than the Gemini PDA is, but still, I mean, this device is still meant to be used more landscape mode with the keyboard, right? So if you want to do more productivity work, not really use this as a phone, but like more as a pseudo netbook, laptop UMPC type device or palm top type device, then this would be the device to go for. The FX Tech Pro 1 is, to me, it's a different use case, right? It's more of a phone that you would use just as a normal phone, and then when you need the keyboard, like you would use the keyboard occasionally, right? You would pull it out, you would tilt it up, and then you can do it landscape mode and type on that keyboard. So that's what it comes down to. If you want to use a device that's more like a pseudo netbook, UMPC, handheld PC type of device, like you're going to do a lot of typing on it and use like maybe the phone functionality occasionally, then the Cosmo Communicator is the device for you. If you want to use a device that's more like a phone and just occasionally you might use the keyboard, then the FX Tech Pro 1 would probably be the better bet. That's just from my thinking so far. I don't have the device yet. Obviously, I'll do a more direct comparison when I get the FX Tech Pro 1. But so far, it seems like that's probably the case. And they're very similar spec. They're both made by small startups in the UK. So I think that would be a very apt comparison. And they're both around the same price range as well. I believe they're both around $750-ish. But for now, this is the Cosmo Communicator by Planet Computers, their successor to the Gemini PDA. And I do think that this is a better phone, and I use the word phone in quotes here because I'm not sure how many people will actually use this as a phone. It's more like just a mini pseudo netbook UMPC type of device. But it is pretty unique. I got to give them that, right? You can triple boot into different operating systems. It has a very cool keyboard. One of the very few devices on the market with a physical keyboard now. Again, only the FX Tech Pro 1, the BlackBerry Key 2, I believe, are the only other. Actually, the Unihertz Titan as well. But these are all very, very small companies, right, doing this. There's no really big manufacturer making physical keyboard phones anymore. So there's just these startups doing it now. It has the fingerprint sensor, backlit keyboard, this external display, a few other improvements, spec bumps, of course, over the Gemini. So it is a better device in every way, but it's up to you if you think that it's worth it or not. I think that the improvements are rather incremental. If you really want to wait for a really big change from the Gemini PDA. I would recommend waiting for the Astro Slide, which is by Planet Computers as well, and that's coming out sometime next year. I think that would be a better design than this, because that one takes the best parts of the FX Tech Pro 1, which is having that full screen display available just as a regular phone, right? You can use it normally as a regular phone most of the time, and then you have that optional keyboard, right? So this one, the problem is you still got the, even though you have the external display, you still got to open up the phone to use the full display, right? So this still takes time, but the Astro Slide combines the FX Tech Pro's convenience of just having that main display on you all the time without having to open it up, with the keyboard design of the Cosmo and the Gemini, which I think are the advantages of these devices. So yeah, I think that one's the best of both worlds, combining the best parts of the FX Tech Pro 1's design with the best parts of the Cosmo Communicator and Gemini PDA's design, which is IMO, the keyboard, right? I think the main attraction of the Cosmo Communicator and Gemini PDA is this keyboard here. I think it's a really nice keyboard that a lot of people like, right? It's from the Scion PDAs, which were very well received for their keyboards. So yeah, I think the Astro Slide will be a huge hit, combining the well-renowned keyboard with the design of the FX Tech Pro 1, which is having that main phone display available without having to open it up and just sliding it up for convenience. So I think that one's going to be a much better design, but again, you'll have to wait until next year for it to come out. But that's it, guys. Leave me any comments in the comment section below. That's the Planet Computers Cosmo Communicator. And as always, thanks for watching.